get into his anti-Semitism. This subject can be touchy because it just can be touchy, but it is what it is. I'm a Black New Yorker, so many Black New Yorkers have, you know, interesting ideas about folks in the Jewish community. And also for folks who don't know my background or whatever, I was raised in the Nation of Islam, grew up in the Nation of Islam. I was a kid in the 90s when Farrakhan was wilding, not wilding as much because he's old as fuck, but that is my background. So I have experienced hearing lots of anti-Semitic thoughts and ideas from Black people. I have believed lots of anti-Semitic thoughts and ideas from Black people. Most anti-Semitic ideas that I formerly believed were true, I've heard from other Black people. No white person told me this stuff. So I do not believe that Black people can be anti-Semitic in a sense of power structures because we don't have enough power, right? But I do believe that we have lots of anti-Semitic thoughts, ideas, and continue the work of white supremacy by passing these messages on to each other intracommunally. Because I've seen it, I've experienced it. Like I said, as a Black New Yorker, lots of Black New Yorkers have ideas about Jewish people because there's a big Jewish community in New York. And then, like I said, because I grew up in the Nation of Islam, and in the 90s, before the 90s, the Nation of Islam did not ever have any anti-Semitic epithets. Like if you look at Malcolm X's or Elijah Muhammad's old speeches or anything from when the Nation of Islam was happening in the 60s, I think the 30s, like from the 30s to the 60s, you don't see anything anti-Semitic in the Nation of Islam rhetoric. It's not until Farrakhan came into leadership of the Nation of Islam that you started to see a lot of that anti-Semitic ideas infiltrate the Nation of Islam. And a lot of that rhetoric is what I was influenced by. So we all have the Black family members who say stuff, anti-Semitic ideas and things like that. So Kanye doing that is not something new, not something that I don't think we want to admit is something that we do. And regardless of if Black people have the power in place to Jewish people based on this rhetoric or not, doesn't matter. We still exasperated by still spreading this stuff. I don't have like a full diasporic hold on Jewish tradition or any of that. Like I haven't done the work when it comes to that. But one thing that I do know, and I have grown to understand, that if my Black ass is ever agreeing with a white supremacist, then something's wrong with what I'm saying. And I really, really, really wish more Black people understood that. I really wish that we knew that at any point in time that we agree with a white supremacist, with a white person who firmly stands in white supremacist patriarchal capitalism, something is wrong. I'm going to talk about my own experience with having anti-Semitic ideas and being taught ridiculous anti-Semitic stereotypes or whatever like that. Obviously, we're all taught these ideas based on power structures. So we're taught that the reason why we are here and they are there is because of, whatever. When in all actuality, when it comes to Jewish people, all Jewish people are not one race. That is a religion. There are Jewish people of many races. Many races. And if it was Judaism that made it so that Jews had power, in quotations, then wouldn't Jews of all races have power? If that was true, wouldn't Black Jews have power? But all that is presented to us, the stereotype that is presented to us, is white Jewish people having all the power. And if that's the case, that is not Judaism or being a Jew that is giving them the power. It is whiteness. It's whiteness. It has nothing to do with being Jewish. And I really, really need us to make that distinction and separate that, because we hustling backwards by thinking these ideas, by believing this anti-Semitic propaganda. We're doing the work of white supremacy. The white supremacist patriarchal capitalism. I say it often that those isms, those things need each other. And capitalism needs a scapegoat. Capitalism needs a population of people to blame for it to work. So anti-Semitism is also one of those things. Anti-Blackness is one of those things. So even if you don't, like I said, I haven't done any of the studying to understand all of the history of Jewish people in the United States or in Europe, but I do understand the ills of white supremacy enough to know what the hell that shit looks like. And that's what it is. And I wish that Black people would make a more concerned effort to understand that it's white supremacist propaganda that we're spreading when we spread anti-Semitic ideas. We're doing the work of white supremacy. We're carrying the master's water for him. But I want to reiterate that white supremacy influences literally all of our ideas about all religions, all races, all ethnicities. It is steeped a lot in white supremacy. Even the stereotypes, the, in quotation, good stereotypes that people have about whiteness help fuel white supremacy, you know? So you do, at the basis, if you understand these systems and how they're used to oppress you, then you should understand that anti-Semitism, being a part of that, believing anti-Semitic antidotes is ridiculous, and it makes, you know, it makes no sense. There are people comparing. So when the anti-Blackness remarks and all of that stuff was happening, none of these companies pulled from him, so on and so forth. And now that he said anti-Semitic things, companies pull from him, so on and so forth. I also think that that is not because of Jewish people. I think it's because of white people. The media makes us believe that Jew is white. And I can't emphasize enough that there are Jewish people of many races. There are Black Jews. The power is in whiteness. The power isn't in Judaism. It's just whiteness. It's just whiteness working. That's all we're seeing is whiteness working. And brands don't care. We know they don't care about anti-Blackness. They definitely don't care about anti-Blackness put forth by another Black person. So why would Adidas pull anything? Why would Balenciaga pull anything? They don't care about anti-Blackness. And it's interesting that the expectation was that they would, when we know that is not the case. This is why we are always fighting for Black lives. We know that's not the case. So it was weird that that was the expectation, that somehow, or not the expectation. It was weird that that was the comparison that many people had when it came to the pulling. It was like, what did you expect? Black people do not have power. White people do. But all Black male rappers engage in that because there's capital in that. There's capital in misogynoir. There's capital in homophobia. There's capital in anti-Blackness. And that's what it is all about. There's capital in that. So why would they drop Kanye if there's capital in anti-Blackness? Another thing that I notice that Black people like to do, and I used to be guilty of this too in my younger Nation of Islam years, right, is that, especially the conscious Black person or the Black, I think it doesn't even matter where you are on your anti-Blackness journey. I think it's interesting to see Black people point out the power that white Jews have, which is also a white supremacist trope, that Jewish people rule the world. Jewish people do not rule the world. They don't. They do not. It is false. And we like to compare it to ourselves and the progress of liberation for Black people, or like the path's liberation. Like I'm sure you've heard of the Black person who has said, if we just did this like the Jews, or look at the Jews, or if we just keep our money in our community, see they have their own hospital, see they have their own this. Like we compare our progress to Jewish people, and it's interesting to me because if we don't like the power that white Jewish people have, why do we want to do that? Why do we want to use that as a template for our liberation if we are always turning up our nose at this idea of white Jewish people in their power. And what that tells me is that we think liberation is domination. And that's a problem because that's not what it is. That is just us replicating oppression. We have to remove that idea. We have to divorce the idea of replicating harmful systems and just making it black and saying that that's freedom. Because it's not. It's oppression. What is the end goal here? Is the end goal like some weird kind of black supremacy? You know, like, is the end goal for us to be on the top and oppressing other people, and that means liberation? Like, that's not what any of us should be doing. People don't really want to be free. They just want to be the next oppressor. They just want to be the next person that is on top. And seeing a lot of Black people agree with a lot of these anti-Semitic ideas, and then also allowing the media, because the media and also all of these companies dropping Kanye because of his anti-Semitic thoughts also signal boost people's ideas about Jewish people and their power. It is also anti-Semitic propaganda. It also feeds the idea that these people have all the power in the world, whereas not the Jewness. It's because there's white people who are sitting at these tables. Adidas literally dropped Kanye because one of the owners or whatever of Adidas was a former Nazi. He better drop Kanye, right? Well, that person's not alive anymore, but you feel me? He better drop Kanye, you know? But I don't think we see how the media puppets us to do the work of white supremacy in this way. And I want us to be more aware of that. All of this is white supremacy. All of it. All of it is white supremacist patriarchal capitalism. All of it is imperialism. And they are using us as puppets in that system. And we got to stop letting them use it. I know the little bit that they teach us in school about the Holocaust and blah, 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 blah. But what I do know about white supremacy is that it will make you do the work for it. So Black people, we have to stop with a lot of the white supremacist ideas. White supremacist, but anti-Semitic ideas that we have, because it is harmful. No, we do not have the power to harm Jewish people in large numbers. We can singularly, definitely. We don't have that power. We shouldn't be doing the work of white supremacy for them. Let the white supremacists do their own thing. Leave us out of it. We got our own problems. We got our own things to take care of. I don't need that.